Good evening everybody and welcome back to One Hub Racing season number 13, round number 6, which takes us to the Hockenheim circuit here for the German Grand Prix. My name is Kieran McGinley and joining me in the commentary box is Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you tonight?
I'm very well, thanks. Looking forward to what could be a title deciding race.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a certain clause that needs to be met, but first of all, a nice sunny qualifying. Expecting well under the 1 minute 10s. We're expecting anyway. Thank you for joining us in the Precision tier, and of course, Luke, take us through all those championship permutations that could happen tonight.
Right, so from the Drivers' Championship point of view, if Westy wins the race and White Fountain fails to score, Westy will take the Drivers' Championship. In the Constructors, Red Bull currently have a 238-point lead over Toro Rosso in second, so it is possible if Red Bull outscore Toro Rosso by over 100 points, they also have to outscore Renault, Haas and Ferrari by smaller numbers, then they could also win it, but that is not going to happen in this tier. It could happen in the Prestige tier at 9:30, but they would need a lot of results to go their way.
Absolutely, let's ride on board with Lawrence as he makes his way around for a lap here in Hockenheim as we make our way now down towards turn 1, using that curve on the left hand side to make the entry as wide as possible, flying through here, very easy to cut the corner and invalidate your entire lap on towards the braking zone here at turn 2, really chucking the car in there, Lawrence, down to second gear as we head away through turns 3 and somehow turn 4 as we make our way now onto the first DRS zone of the lap through Parabolica, this long turn 5. Keep your foot in and try and keep that steering wheel as light as possible as we make our way now towards the braking zone of the hairpin. Turn number 6, braking just before the 100-metre board. Now turning in, slowest corner on the track, down to 63 kph there. On board with the Renault as you now build up the speed, go through the revs and heading now towards that fast left right-hander of turn number 7, heading now towards the braking zone of turn 8. Watch the sleeping policeman on the inside. The track cambers with you and then away from you through turns 8, 9, 10 and 11 as we make our way now towards the fast turn 12, dropping a gear there and waiting patiently to get the apex towards the next corner. Now in towards turn 13, the track cambers towards you, so you're able to carry a little bit more speed through there, in towards the chicane of 15 and 16. And now heading through the last quarter at turn 17. Lawrence here making his way through that last DRS zone and on towards a fastest lap of the race of 1:11.0 from the Renault driver. You've also got Jay in the Sauber there, 1:11.1. Yeah, the lap time should be coming in thick and fast now.
Yeah, Joel with a 1:11.2, Scorpion 1:11.3. Close qualifying have been a fixture of the Precision tier so far. Nearly every single driver out on the ultra soft tyres apart from Niels, who is going very different for everyone else. He has chosen the medium tyres.
Yeah, and I think that's just to get some running on those medium tyres as he makes his way now through that chicane of 14 and 15. Luke, he's actually retired from the session altogether as Niels now making his way around that final corner towards the start finish line. What will he set on the medium tyres? It was a 1:16, spot on a 1:16, but it was invalidated. Chris then, first person into the 1:10s, a 1:10.9. Oh, that's a Ferrari. That's what's happened to Luke then. As he's made his way through turn 1, he's obviously caught the curb on the outside at turn 1 and sent himself into the barriers. So that is Lukey then out of qualifying.
Yeah, looked like a good lap from Chris. Baboon Jay's also retired from the session, so not an ideal start to his Precision tier season. Chris had a much better race last time out in Belgium, but still didn't quite avoid a visit to the steward's office, unfortunately. He got himself a 5-second penalty, and Victor for running out of fuel and defending rather robustly around the bus stop, to put it nicely. He's earned himself a 10-second penalty.
And you saw there Jay's stricken car in pretty much the same place as Lukey's car, just coming around turn 1. Obviously there's something about that curb then that's sending these cars all across the way. So Jay then third place at the moment, but with the track getting quicker and quicker, looks like some fast lap times are going to be set. There's Toad then making his way through that fast chicane, now in towards turn 16 and then through turn 17. That curve on the outside there is a little bit misleading. It looks like it sort of cambers away from you, doesn't look like it's going to give you much grip. You then use it and it's all hunky-dory. It gains your speed somewhere. So yeah, you'll see the drivers use 2 wheels over that curve any chance they can.
Yeah, you don't want to get it wrong. We saw Timo Glock in 2008, he just clipped the curve a bit too much and that speared him towards the wall. You sort of feel as though the car's trying to pull away from you there, and you don't want to run it too wide, else you'll be on the gravel. That'll be lap ruined, race ruined, or perhaps just invalidating your lap if you're lucky, but hopefully the drivers will be able to keep it clean. I think Jay and Luke, I imagine they've just got a bit too greedy with that inside curb on turn 1, and perhaps that's just lost control of the car. We've seen that happen many times before around various tracks, where if you just take too much of that inside curb, it seems to spit you around. It wouldn't be surprising if that's what's happened to those two.
Well, there is a championship leader at the moment, Westy. He knows a win here today could take him to a Drivers' Championship win. It's not been such a great season for his team Haas, Luke.
No, Precision Tier seems to be gaining the bulk of all of Haas's points, really. Haas are currently 4th in the Constructors' Championship with 224 points, remembering that points for the Constructors in Season 13 are gained across all 4 tiers. So Haas on 224 points, and Westy's got 101 of those by himself. So while he's had a fantastic season, it hasn't gone quite as well for all his teammates. He's having a good qualifying session as well. The second car into the 1 minute 10s, slotting in just behind Chris.
Luke, who's given us an update in the chat, saying that he forgot to change the ballast from 9 to 8. Well, in about 4 or 5 races time, Lukey, you won't have to worry about that anymore, because the ballast will not be a thing in the next game. And obviously, with the next game on the horizon, it's sort of the twilight era for this game as we head towards the last 3 races of the season.
Yeah, it wouldn't be unsurprising to see a lot of the drivers not putting in the same amount of practice as they would have done in earlier races, looking forward to the new game. And I think with no ballast options, that's going to make it really interesting, because it's one of the major pieces of setup in F1 2018 that all the drivers tend to use. You're going to have to get used to, I think, quite different handling cars on the next game.
Yeah, absolutely, and all these drivers out here, when they get to that qualifying night at some point in the next game, it's going to be, I don't know, will the guys in Prestige tier still have the pace? Maybe we'll see some guys from the Precision tier go up a couple of tiers, because that first day and those first couple of weeks are going to be crucial to setting the early pace. And of course, we've seen drivers develop all the way through, so it should be pretty interesting to see who the new game actually favours.
Yeah, I think it'll be those who are fast in Prestige, they should still obviously be really quick. I'm not expecting them to suddenly drop down a few tiers, but maybe if the default setups just suit you a bit more than some of the others, you're not going to have to do as much adjusting on your setups, and that could give you a big advantage in the early weeks. It's usually about halfway through the first seasons when you see a true order come through, and many times we've seen a lot of drivers have a fantastic second half of the first season and then come really good in the second shorter ones. And the point for a fastest lap was just saw Nicker drift his way around turn 1. He was very lucky to avoid the wall there. No points so far this season. He's in second place at the moment, and thankfully for him, his qualifying is not over.
Well, lucky for him, because his internet certainly hasn't been on his side this season. In fact, Pete's been disqualified now. I just say that, but he's been disqualified for blocking the pit lane. So that is Pete then out of qualifying, and he will be starting from the back of the grid. This has just been a disaster for Pete.
Yeah, he's quite a few times shown good pace in qualifying. He was doing it today, he's done it in America, but as it was mentioned in the press conference, maybe it's time to talk to the internet provider and get a bit of money back, because so often he's had connection issues, which has made it really difficult for him to race, but also for others to race against him, perhaps getting in incidents because all of a sudden he appears on track in front of them and they're just unable to avoid him. But won't be happy with that 19th. He'll be last in qualifying at the moment, but never know, it's very easy to overtake here, especially into that hairpin at turn 6.
Well, interesting from White Fountain. He was in the doing some pre-race interviews. He says, or Nick asked him this week, is your championship over, or do you believe there is always a reason to race no matter your championship position? Now, White Fountain, being in second place, says there's always a reason to race. Every race is a race where you can learn something or even get better at something or trying something new. I do believe the championship is over in precision. Westy is driving in the wrong tier. What do you say to that, Luke?
It's been very close between all the drivers, I think, in this tier. I think Westy's generally he's just managed to keep it cleaner in those first few races and just got that bit of momentum running. But you can see how close it is at the moment. You've got the top 11 cars within half a second of each other. It's not like Westy's running away by half a second to a second in qualifying. In qualifying pace, he's probably as well matched with everyone else. He might just have a bit more in race pace, but with the way it works with the tier selection system, it's one lap pace dictates what tier you end up in. So maybe if Westy's not as strong as that's why he's ended up in this tier, but you never know. White Fountain did finish ahead of him last time out though, and has won a race, so he's not doing too bad himself.
Well, we shall have to see how that championship rivalry develops. Then Chris goes even quicker, 110.7, and of course we do have the ultra softs. We skip the super soft and go straight to the softs and mediums. So no Red Bull super soft tyres for any of the drivers, and that could really play up in the strategy. Of course, we have to do our mandatory 2 stops, so it's surely got to be ultra soft, soft and softs. Surely that's got to be the ideal strategy.
You'd imagine that's what it's going to be. Maybe some of those who start further back will start on the soft tyres and then go soft, soft and ultra soft at the end. We've seen Victor, he quite often likes going for a harder set of tyres. I'd be surprised to see anyone use the mediums. The last few races was where drivers have used the mediums. They've just had no pace in the first few laps on those tyres, and especially towards the end they just seem to be struggling to keep the tyres holding on. So unless someone gets damaged on lap 1 and has to pit, I can't imagine seeing too many using the mediums.
Well, it says here, Pete, our weatherman in the chat, saying it's going to be wet towards the end of the race. So whether that means that the drivers will have to use intermediates or full wet tyres, or some of them might be able to make it to the end on slicks, who knows. But rain expected for this German Grand Prix.
The gamble there could be, let's say it says rain's forecast in the last 5 laps. Do you only do 1 stop until then, hoping that it starts raining in the last few laps and you have to dive into intermediates? Or we could see quite a few cars diving into the pits on lap 32 because it hasn't rained hard enough and they need to do the second mandatory pit stop.
Yeah, and remember, no matter what the conditions are, there is that mandatory 2 stop. So, you know, it puts yourself in a really awkward position when the conditions change. When do you pit? And also, if you do pit, and if it's late on in the race, you've got to pit again. So, it's going to really throw a spanner into the works if this rain does come, as Metzer loses the back end around turn 13. That is the camber taking full effect there. He's turned the car in, it's had a little bit more grip, it carried a little bit too much speed into the corner, and the back end just simply says, nope, you're having a laugh.
Yeah, very easy to do round there. Stadium section, one of the few remaining bits from the original Hockenheim circuit. You've still got the fast turn 1, but obviously the old track going through the forest, last used in 2001 before it was redesigned by Herman Tilke. I've got to say, this is definitely one of my favourite Tilke tracks. Did a very good job redesigning this, and it's better for the spectators because it wasn't ideal for the fans watching at the circuit when the cars were spending 80% of their time in the forest where there was no one able to watch them.
Well, yeah, absolutely, but you know, you're going to miss the behemoth. It was, of course, longer than the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, double the length of this circuit that Herman Tilke designed. So, ideally, you'd have less of the laps. So I think you would have had 66 laps. I would believe you would have had it back in the day. So maybe not quite double. I'm not sure though. But there we go. Victor, meanwhile, is making his way now through this section here of 9, 10, and 11. Now, someone tell me how that right-hander is 3 corners. I'm not sure how they work that one out.
I'm fairly sure if I were driving around it, I'd manage to turn it into 3 corners quite comfortably. But
you know what? You're not alone.
someone who knows what they're doing, it is one corner. They shouldn't be stabbing at the wheel that many times. But who are we to argue with the FIA about corner designations?
Well, maybe that's why we're in the commentary box, Luke. Once and for all, we don't know the corners. What are you talking about? Neil's then making his way through the hairpin on a, I believe, flying lap on the Ultra Soft tyres. Yeah, all the drivers, Ultra Softs are the tyre of choice at the moment. No one else has gone onto a set of any different tyres as Niels makes his way now through turn 8 and then through 9, 10 and 11. Oh, there's 2 stabs at the wheel there, but not 3 from Niels as he makes it now towards turn 12. Metzer retires, 15th place at the moment, 111.9. As now Niels makes his way now in towards turn 13. Bit of a deeper entry into the corner, but that allows him to get a better apex out of the corner, which is what you need for qualifying. As we make our way now in towards the final 2 corners. And now making his way towards that start-finish line. What can he do? It's a 1:15. But now he'll try once again. That was a beautiful turn 1 entry there. That is exactly how you need to take it.
Yeah, you've got to get it absolutely spot on. It's so easy to cut the inside curb, invalidate your lap, 1-2 wide, invalidate your lap. It's going to be very interesting, I feel, around the first corner. Quite often you see incidents around there as it all sorts of bunches together.
Interestingly then, the 2 title rivals, Westy currently in 4th place, White Fountain in 5th. Now remember, if Westy wants to be crowned champion today, after this race, he needs to win the race with White Fountain not being in the points. That is how he could win it today. If any other result happens, then we go on to the next round, which is at Austria.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough job for Westy. I'm sure he'll want to win it with a battle out on track, so maybe next time will be more likely for him. Chris goes even faster with a 1:10.6, over a quarter of a second ahead of the rest. But I think Westy's mind, he'll just be thinking about keeping it nice and clean. He doesn't need to take the risks in these races now to win the championship. He could finish second in the remaining 3 races and it would be good enough. He doesn't want to retire from a race, get caught up in someone else's accident, because then he will find himself in a proper battle for the final 2 races.
Westy up to 3rd then, 1:10.9, but he's backed out now, so that is his attempt done then. How about White Fountain? He is currently on a flying lap as he makes his way now through turn 4 and now into that DRS zone through the Parabolica through turn 5 and then all the way down to turn 6. As the Force India off to the right hand side. That was Niels there as he retired from the session. Braking hard now for turn 6, almost locking up there. It's all about the exit out of that corner. Bit of wheel spin from White Fountain on the exit of the corner as we now make our way through turn 7 onto the braking zone towards turn 8 now. And there, big lock up on the front left. And now we head through 9, 10 and 11. White Fountain there, using all the track, all that curb. He kept his foot in there and might get rewarded here. Now flying through turn 12. And this lap is over so quickly. Heading through turn 13 now, opting to use the camber to try and help the car turn in. Now into that short, sharp chicane of 14 and 15. Making our way now through 16 and then through 17. What can White Fountain do? Runs a little wide at the exit of the last corner. And it's a tenth faster, 1:10.9. And it puts him up to 3rd place. So he'll be starting on the 2nd row of the grid then. And that was important for White Fountain. He needs to try and outscore Westy in this race. We've got Asahina, who's currently off into the gravel, off at turn 12, and around he goes. That is safe to say. Asahina's lap is all done and dusted then. So as we look at the standings then, everybody who has completed a lap, that is your standings then. Chris on pole position with a 1:10.6. Joret in 2nd. Almost never spoke about him in this section, but he's got a 1:10.7. White Fountain is in 3rd place, 1:10.9. Lawrence 4th, 1:10.919. 0.017 seconds separates them, and then Westy 5th place, 1:10.964. So a lot of exciting racing to come, and of course these drivers will be on dry setups. If it does rain, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, we saw in qualifying in Belgium how difficult it is to try and drive on a wet circuit using a dry setup. Just give a quick update on the Constructors' Championship situation. And we said it'd take a miracle for Red Bull to win. They won in podium. Jamie took the victory in podium, and the highest Toro Rosso driver was in 7th position. So going into this race, Red Bull have a 255 point lead in the constructors.
Well, I mean, I see the chat's gone absolutely mental for JB winning. He has announced this season will be his last in One Hub. So, you know, for him to finally get a race win, I think he'll be, safe to say, chuffed about that one. But we're going to focus on our precision tier. Chris is on pole position, Jorrit 2nd, White Fountain 3rd, Lawrence 4th, Westy 5th, Victor in 6th, Thompson 7th, and Scorpion in 8th place. Of course, the top 10 have to start on the tyre. They set their fastest lap width in qualifying. The top outside the top 10, you can start on whatever tyre you like, as long as you make those mandatory 2 stops, which obviously we've seen before under a safety car. So it's a little bit murky out there at the Hockenheim track. Obviously, we have seen in the safety car people try and pit once or twice under the safety car just to get the mandatory stops out of the way. That could be a possibility. And the German Grand Prix, not only can you spec safety cars, but also quite a few track limit penalties as people try to get to grips with turn 1.
Yeah, turn 1 especially, possibly running wide at the hairpin at turn 6, but generally a one-stop strategy, if you have the choice, is the fastest. You have to make 2 stops this season, so if you get a chance under the safety car to dive into the pit lane and effectively only have to do 1 stop under full racing conditions, it's definitely worth a shot if you're further down the back of the field. And we do have that big risk of rain that could make it very interesting what strategies you decide to go for.
Absolutely. Make sure you like the stream right now if you're enjoying it, if you're enjoying myself and Luke, as we make our way now onto the formation lap, running on board with Chris. Then there's a slower lap time. We had a hot lap, now it's time to have a look at the track at a nice slow pace, heading through turn 1. It's going to be really important here to make sure you don't take too much of the inside curb and the outside curb, as you could really rack up those track limit warnings and penalties through turns 2, 3 and 4. We're not expecting too many overtakes here because of the DRS detection point. As we see now, you've got the DRS here all the way through turn 5 into towards the braking zone of turn 6. This is going to be the place where most of the overtaking is going to happen. You're going from the fastest point of the track down towards the slowest here towards turn 6, and Chris will eventually get there, and there we go, turning in then into turn 6. And there's multiple lines you can use through this corner. You can run deep, try and get a better exit on the run towards turn 7, or you can try and keep tight on the apex and take the racing line. Heading through turn 7, then towards turn 8. Not uncommon to see someone try and look up the inside into turn 8 here, but then they're going to be on the outside for turns 9, 10 and 11. If you can get a better drive out of the corner, it is possible as we head now down towards turn 12. Bit of a tricky one, this one. The corner really narrows halfway through as you now run towards turn 13. You've got to be brave to try and move there. Now heading through turn 13, not an overtaking opportunity, a chance to now follow the car through the final part of the sector. Heading through turns 14 and 15, bit of camber this way and that. Got to be careful of that back end as we make our way now towards the final couple of corners. Luke, take it away with our sponsorships.
Yeah, this stream, as always, sponsored by Next Level Racing. Get your latest rigs there, and even they do a flight simulator one if staying on track is not your thing and you want to explore the air a bit more. And use the code 1HUB10 to get 10% off your next order.
Well, we're moments away here from the German Grand Prix. First race here in 1970, and it was a great behemoth track there, shortened down, as you said, Luke, by Hermann Tilke, and he's created quite a track here, 4.5 kilometres long, with a race distance of about 159 kilometres. But we're almost here for the German Grand Prix as we count up to those 5 red lights here in Hockenheim. Round 6 is underway, and what are the starts like? Looks like Chris has got a good start. Jorrit is looking to challenge him now down towards turn 1. He'll have the inside line. The Ferrari and the Mercedes make contact as they head now through turn 1. That's going to give White Fountain a fantastic run now up towards turn 2 here. And you saw the Haas there. Oh, that's the Renault of Lawrence going into the side of Thompson. Has that Renault got damage, I wonder? He missed his braking zone completely there. And that's a Red Bull. That's White Fountain. And Scorpion's been collected. TK2. TK is around, he's lost a huge chunk of that front wing. It looks like their Scorpion collected his own teammate there, pretty much nowhere to go. And so Scorpion now is out of this race. White Fountain all the way down the order. Thompson's been given a 5-second stop go for ignoring the yellow flags. We've got a car around at the hairpin. That looked like Nick G, and it was all the way around. at the hairpin. Meanwhile, we've got Jaw making a move up the inside. A little bit of front wing debris coming off one of the cars there. Not sure who that was. Meanwhile, Victor up ahead is trying to go side by side with Lawrence now as Westy runs completely off the track on the exit of turn 11 as we make our way now towards turn 12. I wonder if Westy has damage. We've got a McLaren there going off the track on the exit of turn 12 in towards the gravel. It's a manic start here. They're just trying to keep the cars on the track at the moment as we now make our way through the quick chicane. Metzer goes onto the grass there as he's trying to desperately keep that car on the track then as there's a little bit of a clip there from Pete. Pete's having none of it. He wants these positions. He's had a great start and that's Niels out of the race, spinning around at the final corner and hitting the wall. Niels out of the race, and so three cars now out of the race as Toad retires from the session. Pete meanwhile looking to try and go up the inside of his teammate then in towards turn 2, almost coming together then, almost touching, but now on the exit, they do come together on the exit of turn 4. Now coming through turn 5, Pete's exit is going to be compromised now as we head through Parabolica down towards turn 6. Look at this now, it's going to be 3 wide, is it, as Metzer then looks to try and go up the inside. Pete going the long way around and looking to try and follow his teammate Nicker through as we head now towards turn 7. Bit of a manic start here, but Chris leads from Thompson and Jorrit.
Yeah, great start for Baboon J. He's got up 4 places. Absolute nightmare for Westy. He had damage on his front left end plate. Victor managed to get ahead of him just before the pit lane. Victor also had damage, so Westy's had to queue up in the pit lane. He suddenly finds himself in last position. So White Fountain, amazingly, still has a chance in this championship despite what has happened to Westy, who seems to still be in the pit lane.
Whoa, Pete there is really going for it. He did make contact with his teammate Nicker on the exit of turn 11. He's got the position though, up to 5th place he goes. I'm not sure Nicker will be too pleased with that one, but I don't think Pete will mind. Meanwhile, up at the front there, we haven't really talked about these drivers up the front much, but Jay here is in the slipstream of Jorrit then with the DRS. Of course, DRS is now online. It'll be on the outside here for turn 6 as we will now make our way towards the braking zone. The Sauber having to go the long way around. Jorrit looking to try and take the racing line, and it's all about the exit of the corner there on towards turn 7. Jay just can't seem to get the grip down, and Westy is out. So Westy then, championship contender. He was talking about how in the pre-race conference, he was talking about how if he DNFs, the championship could spin on its head, and that could exactly happen tonight.
He will be absolutely furious. The pit lane glitch, it was not letting him out of the pit lane after the stop. He was just sat there and not able to do anything about it. His only saving grace is that White Fountain also had a torrid first lap, but expect the Red Bull to come flying up the field now. That Red Bull is on those medium tyres, so he can go very deep into this race. Pete now trying to go. Interesting title battle.
Pete going around the outside at turn 1. Not often you say that, but with that DRS, he's made that move work perfectly. But now he's going to be on the defence here as Jay has the DRS as we head through turn 5 and Parabolica. So he's got to turn that engine up. He's got to turn that ERS deployment up to try and hold back Jay as we make our way towards turn 6. He defends the inside line. Jay now goes around the outside at turn 6. You can see there Pete locking up, looking to try and take the racing line away. Jay has to go off the track, and it looks like Pete has just about done enough to keep his position and stay ahead in 4th place. Well, this is a wake-up call for White Fountain. This is in his hands now. He needs to score as many points as he possibly can, but he's down in 14th place at the moment.
Yeah, still, especially with that rain, anything can happen. Pete taking full advantage of those fresh ultra soft tyres. Out of those who started outside of the top 10, it was only him and Lukey who went on the ultra soft, so he's going to have a lot more grip than those around him who are on the older tyres at the moment. And for example, Chris and Thompson, they have come into the pits, and Chris has got himself a 5-second stop go for speeding in the pit lane.
And it looked like he was pretty much in control of this race, but now that 5-second penalty will cost him towards the end of this race, that is for sure. Of course, he will have to make his second stop, so that will be added to his next pit stop. So it's not the end of the world at the moment. He knows he'll have to serve that at some point in the race, but yeah, with these cars out there, with rain forecast towards the end of the race, we don't know when exactly. Could be very interesting. Meanwhile, Nicker here is challenging Metzer as they head now down towards turn 6. for the 5th time then. The Renault now going up the inside. Nicker around the outside. Onto the curb he goes. And there's no room for him. And that allows Lukey to just go straight through and say thank you very much for the free position. Up to 3rd place he goes. Looking for a move now.
Good for those who started on those tyres. He's still battling with Metzer now for 2nd position. Pete suddenly found himself in the lead, and I think LJ Thompson's been hit by the pit lane glitch as well. He's still stuck in the pit, so a nightmare for last week's race winner.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like nothing's going right for the Red Bull family at the moment. And Thompson in the pit lane. If that has happened to him, that will be such a shame for not only Red Bull, but for Toro Rosso as well. What that pretty much does, if anything, is it's neutralised the Constructors' battle, because none of the cars that are in the battle for the Constructors, the main rivals that is, are scoring any relevant points at the moment. So it's safe to say then that that draw seems to be a Red Bull win, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they can afford quite a few non-scores, but Toro Rosso really need to be getting as many points as possible. As the case with Haas and Renault, it's looking pretty good for Renault at the moment, with Metzer in 2nd position and Lawrence in 9th after his early pit stop. Metzer, sorry, leading, I should say. So it's looking pretty good for him, and he's yet to score any points this season, so this could be an ideal chance for him.
Nick G then looking for a move past Asahina. It's not ready yet. Meanwhile, we've got a 3-car scrap here for 8th place. Jorrit, Lukey and Lawrence. Lukey's just emerged from the pits on a set of soft tyres. Look at this now. He's trying to go round the outside at turn 7. Now up the inside at turn 8. But he backs out of it. Bit of a half-hearted move there. And those could be the most dangerous moves as we head our way through 9, 10 and 11 on the run towards turn 12. There you can see Lawrence is trying to capitalise on a Lukey mistake then out of turn 11 through turn 12. And you can see there Lawrence having to back out the throttle. Lukey was a little bit slower through turn 12 than the Renault expected. That may have been due to the dirty air. But there we go. And look how much he's fallen back as well. There's a couple of tenths in that now, half a second. And Lukey right on the back of Jorrit then, as Jay sets the fastest lap of the race then. Lukey riding on board with him as we head towards turn 1. Oh, he's got turn 1 wrong there, runs a little bit wide and gets himself a 3-second time penalty as well. Here comes Lawrence to try and sweeten the deal as we make our way towards turn 2, but he can't quite get the move done. Meanwhile, look at this battle for the lead. They're 3 wide on the exit of turn 6, and meanwhile Asahina and Metzer are going side by side now through turn 7, and they're going to come out in one piece. Yes, they do. Asahina holds on then, and here comes Nick G up the inside. No, couldn't quite make that move stick, and he's been given a slap on the wrist as well. 3-second time penalty. That will be added to the end of his race.
Yeah, looking at the different strategies that people have gone on, you'd imagine Jorrit and Lawrence, as Lukey tries to go round the outside at turn 8 but not able to do it. Jorrit and Lawrence will be hoping, if there is rain, it happens right at the end of the race so they can ditch their mediums. I imagine Lukey will be hoping that the rain either comes earlier on before those softs are worn or doesn't come at all, so he can have a more conventional 2-stop strategy.
Well, Chris is on a charge here, now on the freshest set of soft tyres out of the top 5. And he's looking to try and make a charge through. He's got past Nick G. Looked like Nick G touched the gravel at some point in Sector 3. Got dirty tyres on the left-hand side. But we're going to ride on board with Metzer here as we now make our way through turn 5. Asahina also has the DRS. Are we looking at a 3-wide move down towards turn 6? Asahina might look for it. Metzer's definitely going for it then. Down the inside at turn 6. A little bit onto the grass then on the inside. But he's got the move done. And Asahina then sort of let that move just happen there. So Metzer then up to 2nd place.
Yeah, I'm surprised Asahina was so compliant there. He's on the same age tyres as Metzer and those around him, but Chris, he's catching up now and expect him to be trying to fight his way through this pack and get back into the lead of this race.
Well, Lukey and Jorrit fighting for position, as are Jor and Lawrence for 8th, 9th and 10th and 11th respectively. Still White Fountain, big championship contender, still down in 13th place. He'll just try and keep his head down and hope that this race comes back to him later on. Of course, we've still got the 2 stops that every driver needs to make. Meanwhile, then Chris gets past Asahina, and again, Asahina doesn't make it too difficult for the Ferrari driver. He knows that Chris is just in a different race at the moment, and Asahina's just thinking, not worth my tyres.
Yeah, not battling with him, might as well concentrate on his own strategy, try and get these softs to last as long as possible. Chris does have that 5-second.
Well, I'm not sure what happened to Luke there, but here comes Metzer down the inside of Nika. Meanwhile, behind them, there's a little bit of contact between Asahina and Nick G then, as Luke has completely gone from the session. Nick G then up the inside at turn 7. Can he make this move stick then? He'll be around the outside for turn 8 though. Can he make it stick? No, he can't, but maybe he'll try a little bit of a cutback now here through turn 9, 10 and 11. But the car just doesn't want to stay on the track the way he wants it to. He's got a massive gap now, a massive exit as we head towards turn 12. Up the inside he goes, and he's got the move stuck then, and into 4th place he goes. Nick G wanted that move, you could see. He wasn't going to give up on it. Tried everything in the rulebook, threw everything at it. And he's finally got the way past Asahina. But it looks to me Asahina's not quite in a mood to battle for position. He's rather in a mood to try and save his tyres as long as possible. Maybe he's trying the soft medium. He did start this race, of course, on those soft tyres. So maybe he's just trying to make these tyres last so he can put on a set of mediums and hope that the rain means that he'll have a set of intermediates for the end of the race. Chris, meanwhile, is the youngest tyres out of the top 3 at the moment. Currently chasing Nika as we make our way through turn 5 into the braking zone of turn 6. Chris then up the inside. Will Nika put up a fight here? It looks like he's going to. Tries to make it move around the outside, but Chris is up the inside. And with those fresher tyres gets the much better exit. Chris now up to 2nd place. He knows, and Thompson out of the race then. So that is Thompson retiring from the German Grand Prix. And I don't think he actually rejoined the race at all there. So a nightmare for the Red Bull family as both Red Bulls are in a spot of trouble. Scorpion out of the race, White Fountain down in 13th place. Meanwhile, Thompson, the sole Toro Rosso in this race tonight, is now out of this race. Lap 10 of the German Grand Prix. Metzer leads then from Chris and Nika, who's running in 3rd place. We've got quite a few battles happening around the field, but Chris here got a good run through the mid part of 17 and then just had a little bit of understeer, it seemed. Now we're heading through turn 1. Now right on his tail as we make our way towards turn 2. You can see now Chris is looking for that move, but he doesn't want to go for that move just yet. He'll rather wait for this DRS zone through turn 5, and that's the racer in Chris, thinking carefully about where he wants to make these moves. Now in the slipstream of Metzer then. Now where will he go? Metzer moves to the right hand side, then Chris goes to the left. It puts him onto the outside for turn 6 then as we make our way towards the braking zone. Metzer wants to hold on to this position, it seems, as Chris battles him as we head now towards turn 7 then. They're side by side as we make our way through. And he's got the move done around the outside. Up the inside it goes, in towards turn 8. And that is the lead for Chris then, handed back. And the Ferrari once again leads the race, fastest in qualifying. And he makes the move to take the race lead once again. As Nika in 3rd place then, now trying to hold off the other Nick of Nick G as we head away towards turn 13. Nick G trying to go up the inside of turn 13. Not a great idea. Makes contact with Nika. Rear tyre to front tyre. Almost spun Nika around. But he's able to hold on to the car then. We got yellow flags in sector 3 there. As that looks like a car that's hit the wall at some point. Just on the inside pit wall there, but that might have been earlier on in the race. And I wonder if Luke's back at all. I wonder.
Hello.
Hello. Well, we're seeing Nick G trying to move up the inside at turn 2. Up the inside of Necker. It puts him on the outside now for turn 3 and turn 4. He's right onto the curb there, trying to hold on for dear life. He's got DRS though, and around the outside of turn 5, where Nicker has no DRS. He's still going to put up a little bit of a fight though as we make our way now down towards turn 6. In fact, Nicker is able to keep that straight line speed even with Nick G's DRS. He's got the inside now for turn 6. Now got the exit through, and Nick G in the Mercedes holds on to P3, but Nicker's not done there yet. As we fly away through turn 7, now towards turn 8. Takes a wider entry to try and get a better exit, but no dice for Nicker. And Nick G then moves up to 3rd place.
Yeah, Nicker must have a very slippery setup on that Williams. Nick G didn't get a chance to get him slipstream, of course, to take full advantage of that DRS, but he's doing pretty well, both these cars. And Metzer just ahead on the tyres. You'd imagine they're going to go for the soft at the next stop and then hope these last long enough for the rain to come. If it does come, it definitely looks a bit more overcast than it does earlier, but these will soon fall into the clutches of Jay and Pete behind.
Well, Lawrence is really pushing hard on these medium tyres. Currently trying to chase down Jorrit. TK with a 3-second time penalty. And running very wide at the exit of turn 12. Very close to the gravel. He's a lucky boy to keep that facing the right way. Nika, meanwhile then, now in the slipstream of Nick G. You can see the speed difference between the two cars now as Nika tries to brake later into turn 6. He gets a very deep entry, almost outbraked himself there. In fact, he did, because look how much time he's now lost on Nick G, trying to battle for third place. Nick G then holds on to third place. Jorrit, meanwhile, trying around the outside of J then. Oh, sorry, of Jaw. In towards turn 6, but no dice. Jaws having none of it and holds on to that position as we head our way through turn 7 on the run towards turn 8. They've got to be careful of Lawrence here. Jorrit going for it then up the inside at turn 8, and he's got the move done. He's got to hold on now through turn 9 and 10. He puts Jaw on the outside and makes the move stick. Great move from Jorrit there to take the position away, and he's now up to 8th place.
Yeah, that allowed Lawrence to get through as well. He was just sitting back, letting all that happen, keeping it nice and clean. White Fountain's got to hope for a safety car or something to happen in this race at the moment. He's just not got any pace at all, down in 13th position. And I'm sure if Westy is watching, he will be fairly happy with how it's going. If you'd have said before the race you'll be in the same situation as you were when you started and a 26-point lead, I'm fairly sure he'd have taken that.
Absolutely. Well, Nick G's just made a move for 2nd place, and you can see with that DRS how much quicker he is in a straight line. It's unbelievable that Mercedes is set up for. But now Nick G up to 2nd place. He's done 13 laps on those soft tyres at the moment, so we're expecting him to pit in at some point. But maybe they're just trying only one stop to go on some dry tyres, and then try and make the tyres last until the intermediate window or wet tyre window, whatever. But if they do that, they're basically saying to themselves, if it rains, I'm going onto a set of wet tyres.
Yeah, they need the rain to come heavily. If it only starts raining in the last few laps, this is not going to be the quickest strategy for them, especially now that Jay catching up to the best of them. I'd be expecting them to come in the next few laps so they don't lose that much time. As I say that, Nick and Metzer dive into the pit lane, so that promotes Nika up to 2nd place. Though with Jay right behind him, don't think he'll be holding on to that for too much longer.
Well, you can see here Lawrence now trying to chase down Jorrit. He's got some DRS as we make our way now towards turn 1. Jay here, meanwhile, as the rain's starting to fall. The rain has started falling on lap 15. Here comes Jay then through turns 3 and 4 on the inside at turn 5. He's got the move done, but let's have a look at Nika. Let's ride on board and see how we can make this slippery Williams go. He looks quick in a straight line as well, Nika. So he's tuned the car up to really go for the straights. At the moment, though, looks good. But with that rain starting to fall, how quickly will this track get greasy? And how quickly will those slick tyres fall away as Lawrence here struggling for grip out there at the moment. Runs deep into the hairpin, but look how much speed he's got on the exit of the hairpin. He now finds himself in a sticky situation. He had a run on Jaw, but just nowhere to put the car, and he has to really... Oh, he's made contact with Victor through turn 11, and Victor's around then. Made contact with the rear tyre then, and Victor's just got to be careful now as to how he rejoins. I'm not sure whether there was contact. It looked suspect, well, that probably will be one for the stewards. I'm sure Victor will be taking that one to them.
Yeah, Victor will definitely not be happy about that. Metzer trying to go round the outside at turn 13 there on Nick. He's put the ultra soft tyres on. He's just trying to make these ultra softs get the most out of them for the next 3 or 4 laps, and then perhaps change to the intermediates if it rains enough. Lawrence is coming into the pit lane. He's also going to put a set of ultra soft tyres on the car. It's definitely not wet enough at the moment for intermediates. Can Nika make those soft tyres last, though, until it becomes the crossover point, or will he just have no grip at the moment? Memories to Lewis Hamilton in China in 2007. If you've got no grip on your tyres, no tread left in wet conditions, you are just going to slide off the road and lose so much pace compared to those around you.
Well, this is interesting as well, because the drivers now going onto the ultra soft tyres are making their first mandatory stop. Their second stop will be to go onto a set of intermediate tyres. Their plan is then to run to the end on those intermediate tyres. That is what they're trying to do. So it's a strategy for sure, but will it be the quickest one?
Yeah, Nicker, he's diving into the pits. He might as well change to the dry tyres now as well, then, to be fair, because he's going to have to make another pit stop after this one. Changes to intermediate tyres now. He'll just have to pit later on, and those intermediates, we know those and the wet tyres can go quite a long way. Nicker is going on to intermediate, so if I was him, I'd be hoping it stays like this for the next few laps and then maybe gets dry again, and he could be right up towards the front of this race. Quite a few others coming in. Joe Victor getting himself a penalty. White Fountain also into the pits as well, but I'd say we're getting closer to the crossover point as Nick G nearly loses it there around turn 2.
Metzer using that online DRS to get away past Asahina down towards turn 6, and again Asahina just looks like he wants to be in his own race at the moment, not interested in battling other cars as it seems. So Nicker then leads the intermediate runners, and yeah, this crossover point is getting closer and closer, but at the moment doesn't seem to be much spray out on the track, so that's the defining factor as to whether the tyres are ready. As you can see, they're not lifting up as much water as they expect. As you can see now they're starting to displace the water. So now might be a good time, but the definitive and de facto way we'll know it's the crossover point is when the stewards disable DRS. Lap 18, race leader in the pits, and there you go, DRS disabled. Time to come in for those intermediate tyres. And one thing for Jay though, he's got to do a lap again to, well, he thinks it's okay for now. The stewards have disabled DRS, that's that. Chris, as you saw there, got held in the pits. That's because he served his 5-second stop-go penalty. He now emerges from the pits then, and that 5-second time penalty has not done him much harm whatsoever. He rejoins in second place.
Yeah, he'll be fairly happy with that. Be interested to see what kind of times Jay can do and how much he loses to those. He's lost about a second already in half a lap to Nicker, so he'll definitely be coming in. And there's always that element of luck in wet weather conditions. Does the crossover point happen just after you've come past the pit lane or just before? Because that can be crucial, and this could cost Baboon Jay a lot of positions. Chris will be happy. He's got a 2.5 second lead at the moment over Pete, and he does not have to stop again.
So lap 18 then, Jay leads, but he's on a set of soft tyres whilst everybody else is on intermediates, and that gap is coming down 13.8 at the moment, 4/10 out of that mini sector alone. So he's catching him quickly here. Oh, he loses the back end out of turn 12. Chris onto the grass there. That was a very, very suspect moment from Chris. So that's a warning sign not to let that complacency set in.
Yeah, it'd be an absolute disaster for a Ferrari driver to lose it around the stadium section at Hockenheim in the wet.
I don't know what you're talking about, Luke. But there we go then. Chris makes his way through into turn 1 to take the lead of the German Grand Prix. There is Pete in the background there in second place. We said he's had a disaster so far this season. 0 points to his name. And after 6 rounds in this season, he'll want something to show for it. Currently running in second place.
Yeah, Jay has got out just ahead of Nicker, but of course Nicker's used to the intermediate tyres in these conditions. He needs to get past Jay right now and really take full use of these intermediate tyres, because he's the only driver out on track that will have to make another stop. Lawrence has made 3 stops at the moment, so it's not exactly gone to plan for the Renault driver who started towards the front of the field. He's currently in 13th. White Fountain in 12th. Still 4 seconds off a points position, so he's going to have to get a move on.
Well, we've got Asahina now on the back of Jorit, and now that it started raining, Asahina seems up for this one as we head towards turn 8, going up the inside, hitting the curb there, making contact with the Mercedes as he now tries to go side by side. Jorit covering the line. Asahina trying a little bit of a cutback now as we head towards turn 12. Surely they're not going to go side by side here through turn 12. There's going to be a little bit of understeer from both cars. Wheel to wheel there as we head towards turn 13. And it's Jorit now going up the inside, desperately trying to hold on to that line. We're now heading towards that far chicane, and look who's in the background there. Metzer's ready to take that position, and Asahina through the chicane holds off Jorit and moves up a position. That was nip and tuck.
Very close. Tough but fair racing. No damage done to either car, but all that is allowed to do is Metzer to close up. Pete seems to be doing very well in these conditions as well. He's only a second behind Chris now. Ideally, he'd like the DRS, but the steward's disabling that in those conditions. Rubidinho asking about the pit stop situation. As I said, it is only Nika who has to make another stop now. Everyone else has done their compulsory 2 stops. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Williams driver decides to play this.
Yeah, and of course, other drivers might not necessarily know that Nika has another stop to go. So he'll be splitting this sort of strategy in half. Let's see, when did he stop on these tyres? So they're 3 laps old, so he stopped about lap 16, lap 17. 34 laps in the race, so we're talking about, what? Someone do the maths for me. He's got to split that strategy in half, basically, which might actually come back to bite him at the end.
Yeah, the intermediate tyres, obviously with it raining, there's a lot less temperatures involved. They just seem to be able to last a lot longer, so there's no real advantage to having to do only 9 laps on them as compared to 18. He's not going to be any faster, and pitting now would drop him outside the point. So if I was Nika, I'd be doing whatever the opposite of a rain dance is, because if it stops raining right now, he'll be able to pit later on for dry tyres, and that will be his compulsory 2 stops if he's remembered, because we've said it was going to happen at some point this season, but they've all been very well behaved in the position tier. We've got to round 6 and no one has yet fell foul of the 2-stop rule.
Oh, Metzer and Jarrett going side by side in towards turn 4 there. A little bit on the edge there, but Jarrett will have another go then as we head through turn 5. You see Metzer then going all the way to the right hand side to try and defend the inside line in towards the hairpin, and Jarrett there is trying to squeeze the Renault, then locks up there and they both come together at the hairpin. Front wing to rear tyre, and that means they both go straight on as Metzer then rejoins the track down in 12th place, and TK is out. TK out of the race then. He becomes another retirement in this race. We're down to 13 runners. Meanwhile, White Fountain is just trying to keep his head down. And with that recent incident with Metzer going off the track, that's promoted him up to 11th place. He's now chasing down Victor for 10th place. And remember, any points you can score here today will be very valuable heading towards Austria.
Yeah, valuable for him, valuable for Red Bull as well. Neither them or their nearest rival, Toro Rosso, are going to score any points. So I think that's almost certainly going to mean that the Constructors' battle will go on to next week. You can see why Metzer was so desperate to get past Jorrit though. Asahina's had already pulled about 2 or 3 seconds ahead of the Mercedes before that incident. That's allowed Nick to catch up as well and promote Victor and White Fountain into 10th and 11th places. The gap at the front staying constant at around a second. Chris, he'll just be able to control the pace a bit more, knowing that Pete doesn't have DRS. And will Pete be willing to risk everything, knowing that he's yet to get a point this season?
White Fountain here on the inside of Victor as we head away towards turn 6 here. Who's the last of the late breakers heading towards that hairpin? White Fountain has the inside line here. Looks like Victor will try a little bit of a cutback, a little bit of a switchback as we head towards turn 7. They're going to be side by side now in through turn 7. Normally flat out there, and flat out for White Fountain in the wet conditions heading in towards turn 8, and that was the difference there. Victor had to lift in those intermediate conditions. White Fountain didn't. He kept his foot in and he's got himself 10th place. Runs a little bit sideways through turn 11 there, but I don't think he'll care too much. White Fountain then into the points.
Yeah, Victor tried his best, I feel, to do his team.
Metzer! Metzer's off! Big crash for Metzer. He's out of the German Grand Prix. He's off at turn 13. It looked like he just went wide there at turn 12. I'm going to look back at it and, well, it's I think that's more of a rage there. He was full throttle all the way. So I think Metzer's definitely called it a day. Crashed out at turn 13.
Yeah, someone here suggesting that was a bit Vettel-esque. That has promoted Lawrence up to 12. Only 12 runners now. Hopefully Metzer's far enough off the track that it won't cause a safety car. Although Nicker might have been hoping that it would, because he wouldn't lose as much time in the pits. Under that, he's dropped back from Jay. Lukey now beginning to catch up the Williams, and it is looking like a good race for Ferrari. So many times Chris and Lukey have shown pace in qualifying, and it has not come together in the race. And Chris will be hoping he can keep it clean, because he has made it to the stewards every single time this season so far. Wow.
Currently leading with 12 laps to go. I reckon the heart rate for Chris is going up just a slight bit as we make our way towards the closing stages of the German Grand Prix. There you can see the two Mercedes of Jorrit and Nick G running 8th and 9th. White Fountain in 10th there. And again, looking to just score some points as we have a look at the standings then. As it stands, the gap between the two of them would be 25 points exactly as we head towards the last two races. So any pressure that White Fountain can put on Westy now will be crucial. 3.2 seconds is the gap to the next car.
Yeah, every point will be crucial. Victor, he's coming into the pits. I'm not sure if he has any damage in the Haas, because 7 laps is an extremely short stint on those intermediate tyres. So that's all I can think he's coming in for. And now it seems to be a straightforward tyre change. So very interesting by the Haas. White Fountain will be hoping to make a few more places as Lawrence is off and safety car out.
Safety car then for the German Grand Prix, and it looks like Victor becomes the third person to get stuck in the pit lane. So these teams have got to really iron out these mistakes, because they're costing drivers, teams, everything here. But this is not what Chris wanted to see. A safety car here at the German Grand Prix with 11 laps to go. So we get to calm down a little bit, and this is fantastic news. Nika will be jumping for joy. He'll get to come into the pit lane to make his second mandatory stop. If he wants to take full advantage of it, he'll peel into the pits now. But remember, he's got to be careful coming into the pit lane. He still has to meet that delta at the pit entry line.
Yeah, Chris and Pete also deciding to come into the pit lane. So I'm not sure what their thinking is behind that. Do they need fresh tyres? We see Joe get a penalty for speeding under the safety car, so that has promoted Jay into first place for now. Chris only losing one position for now. Nico, of course, coming in. Most of the drivers deciding to pit under the safety car, so perhaps these intermediates aren't lasting as well as we thought they would.
Well, the qualifying strategy, whenever it rains, seems to be stay out on a set of intermediates, 2, 3, 4 laps. You disperse the water, the tyres actually stay in their temperature range. There's not much wear on these tyres. One lap to another, there's about 0.005 of a second difference, 0.05 of a second difference. It's not going to be the end of the world. However, it seems like in these dry setups that most of these drivers will have, they're not keeping their intermediates very well at all. So this might be a little bit of a gift for other drivers, but Jay then, the only person to stay out under the safety car, we'll have to see how his tyres behave towards the end of the race then. Lap 25 of the German Grand Prix. Jay leads the German Grand Prix. Chris is in second, Pete third. Nika, who's now made his second mandatory stop, so all drivers have made their 2 mandatory stops. He's running now in 4th place. Lukey in 5th, Jaw 6th, Asahina in 7th, Jorrit in 8th. White Fountain now up to 9th place with Nick G in 10th, and Victor stuck in the pit lane. He's now going to count as a retirement. So actually we have now 10 runners in this race, and 3 of them have been due to the pit lane glitch. So that's really unfortunate for those guys.
Yeah, they'll be hoping no such problems in a few weeks when F1 2019 comes around. White Fountain, he's suddenly found himself in 9th place, and all this bunching up of the field, that'll just give him a chance to get past a few more cars. If I was Jay, I'd be feeling pretty good about things at the moment. First race in the tier, you're in the lead. Perhaps I'd be hoping the safety car stays out as long as possible, because he will not be able to generate heat in the tyres in those first 2 corners as well as Chris and Pete. So I imagine if Jay survives the first lap, he's got a great chance of winning this race, but expect Chris and Pete to be all over the back of him in those first few corners.
Well, remember, Jay's tyres have been through a heat cycle. They've been heated up. Now they're starting to cool down. For Jay, in theory, it should be quicker for his tyres to get back up to temperature. That's, of course, in theory. We have no idea how the track's going to behave. No idea how the other cars are going to behave out here as they make their way down towards turn 6 once again. So with White Fountain at the moment, as it stands, scoring 2 points. As it stands, 24 points is the gap between White Fountain and Westy as we head towards Austria. But it looks like it's going to be more of a sprint race now. Expect moves up the inside, expect desperate moves, half-hearted moves, anything like that. Between these 10 cars, as long as they make it to the checkered flag, they're all scoring points.
Yeah, safety cars tend to breed safety cars. That turn 6 hairpin on whatever lap the safety car ends up coming in, it's going to be doing at least one more after Lawrence's crash. It's going to be very spicy into that hairpin. I expect to see a few cars going 3, perhaps even 4 wide into there. And what might be a good thing for Jay as he's out in front is that Chris isn't going to be able to put 100% of his attention into attacking the Sauber. He's got the 2 Williams just behind him as well. Pete especially, he's going to be desperate for a win because he's been so unlucky so far this season.
Whoa. Safety car is still out onto the track then as we head on towards lap 27. 8 laps to go here at the German Grand Prix, and it is Jay in the lead. So, well, Luke, here comes my question. At the moment, who are you backing for the race win? Who do you think will hold their nerve in these last couple of laps?
I am going to go for Jay. I think he will just be able to hold on. I think Chris, he's not going to want to make another visit to the stewards. He might just have that in the back of his mind, that he's been involved in quite a few incidents this season. As I said, he's going to have Pete and Mika right behind him as well. I think whoever's coming out with the lead on the first racing lap at the end of whatever lap that's going to end up being, it looks like the safety car staying out a bit longer. Whoever's leading at the end of the first racing lap, I think is going to be the one to take the victory.
Well, let us know in the chat then, who are you wanting to win the race tonight? Perhaps it's a teammate. Perhaps you don't want your rival doing well. Who knows? Let us know in the chat who the flags are flying for tonight and who is going to be winning this German Grand Prix. Let us know in the chat there. Mark's saying, Luke, can you check the penalties? Here we go then. Safety car is in this lap. I will let Luke check the penalties then, and I will take you through the first racing lap. Let's hope then everybody can keep it clean. So Jay now becomes the pace car as we make our way now in towards turn 13. You can see the safety car still out there. It's very slow at coming in, especially in the last sector here at Hockenheim, but you can see now it's making its way back towards the pit lane. The virtual Burt Mailander will be off the track any second now, and it'll be up to Jay to decide when he wants to go. He makes his way now around the final corner, and he's gone for it. Around the final corner, losing that back end slightly. Chris might have an opportunity. We're back under green flag racing as we head now towards turn 1. Chris backs out of a turn 1 move. You can see there Jay runs wide. There's a couple of penalties there being applied as we make our way now towards turn 2. But Jay then leads the way. Chris in second, Pete third, as we're seeing Jaw now go up the inside of Lukey through turn 2, then 3 and 4 as we make our way in towards Parabolica for the 28th time. Jay still leading, then Chris in second. Pete here is looking for a podium as he now makes his way now down towards turn 6. You can see Nicker there, 4th place. Now Jaw's come out of nowhere! Dive bomb from Jaw, and he's taken Nicker with him. He's completely missed his braking point. Must have forgotten that his brakes aren't up to temperature. And, well, he's now up to 4th place. Lukey 5th now. So Jaw, with that dive bomb, has gone up to 4th place. And here comes a Red Bull now of White Fountain up the inside. That's a desperate move from a desperate driver as he makes his way now in towards 9, 10 and 11. That looked a bit suspect to me, whether he just missed his braking zone, whether his brakes are too cold. But that to me looked like a desperate move from a very desperate driver.
Then Nicker must be wondering what he's done to deserve this. We see Nick G just running slightly wide now, so he's down in 10th position. Quick overview of the penalty situation for some of the lead cars. So for the top 3, it is Jay currently has 3 penalties. Chris has none, but he's only 1 warning away from getting a 3-second time penalty. And Pete has 1 as it stands at the moment, but in these wet conditions, I'd be surprised if it stays like that.
Well, Chris still applying that pressure to Jay then as we make our way in towards turn 2. So he has those penalties, but whether his engineer will have told Chris, I'm not entirely sure. Chris is battling on track for this one, that's for sure. Into the slipstream he goes then. This is older tyres versus new intermediate tyres. Chris now looks for the inside line. Jay tried to squeeze him out as much as he's allowed to. In towards turn 6 they go. Chris has got the inside line. Will he have the better traction? Yes, he will. And the Ferrari of Chris takes the lead of the German Grand Prix.
Yeah, Chris, he's just got to try and keep it clean now. He hasn't got any penalties.
Oh!
Pete, oh!
Jay just came out of nowhere there. That's his 4th penalty as he looked to just try and dive bomb out of that one, as he's losing the back end now, and he might lose some positions here side by side with Jaw then as they make their way now towards turn 12. A little bit of contact between the Sauber and the McLaren there, but Jaw makes his way up to 3rd place as Jay here looking to try and grab that 3rd place back, but those tyres, they're showing their age now, that's for sure, in towards the chicane. And look at this train that's forming. White Fountain out of nowhere now is up to 5th place.
Yeah, it just looked like Jay lost his head a tiny bit there. A bit frustrated with what has happened. Joe's got a disqualification for ignoring a drive-through penalty, so the man who was in 3rd place, that's put White Fountain up into 4th. Taking advantage of penalties, he's going to get a podium out of this race as it stands.
Well, how about that? As Jay gets the back end wrong, and White Fountain just about had enough room there to keep it on the track. That's going to be a bit encouraging for White Fountain then as he gets into the slipstream through turn 5 and all the way now towards turn 6. He's still got Lukey behind him though. White Fountain here having to go around the outside. Lukey here going up the inside at turn 6. They're 3 wide on the exit. Somehow they've kept it all together as now they make their way towards turn 7, and Lukey here has gained a position on White Fountain. He's now up to 4th place as they make their way towards turn 8. Here's White Fountain once again. This time he collects Lukey. It's all gone wrong for White Fountain. He's completely lost the plot. And this time he's all the way into the gravel now. Well, I don't know what White Fountain's doing. He lost his cool completely, down in 9th place. And, well, as I said, desperate move from a desperate driver. He wants to keep this championship alive the best way he can, but just completely lost his head.
I was just about to say, before that incident, as things stand, White Fountain would finish in 2nd position, but he's gone from that to 9th, only 2 points as it stands at the moment. And after doing that once is foolish. Doing it twice, the stewards are not going to look too kindly on that. Wouldn't be surprised to see Lukey and perhaps even Nicker reporting the earlier incident. And somehow, after all this, Jay is still 3rd. Out on track, although he's now got Jobbit all over the back of him.
Asahina, meanwhile, going side by side with Nicker. Nicker, who looks strong to try and take a podium. Meanwhile, Jorrit is battling with Jay as they head their way towards turn 6. Not sure which battle to look at here. Asahina holds off on Nicker, though, as we make our way through turn 6. Meanwhile, Jorrit has got the better exit out of the hairpin in towards turn 7, and he's got up to 3rd place now, and Jay down to 4th place. Of course, with those penalties, there's 12 seconds of them now as we now make our way in towards 9, 10 and 11. Losing that back end once again. Jay is just trying to get those tyres to the end of the race. He's got his teammate Asahina behind him. Have a look at Lukey as well, who was just filling that Mercedes mirrors of Nick G with a bit of scarlet red. As we make our way now in towards turn 13. Nick G running wide on the entry, but that's to try and get a better exit then. It's been a dramatic race. You can't say that really. It's just been absolutely incredible. The safety car as well. 3 laps to go. It is Chris who leads. Pete is in 2nd. And these two have just galloped away from the rest as they've been caught up in their own incidents.
Yeah, I think they did the best thing getting ahead of Jay as quickly as possible. It seems to have been a bit of a cork in the bottle, and perhaps that has led to some of the frustration we've seen from a few of the other drivers. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. It's White Fountain around at turn 1 just to add insult to injury. He'll want to get towards the end of the race though, because that is 2 points. Pete doing a very good job in 2nd position at the moment. I'm
Nick
sure
G. Nick G's completely missed his braking point there and actually turned left at the hairpin, went across Lukey, obviously not to try and cause any drama, but he just simply ran out of road and realised there's an escape road at turn 6. I'll take that instead.
Yeah, I think he was trying to find his way to the old Hockenheim circuit there, but he's going to struggle now. He's down in 8th position. Jory in 3rd. Ashahina still not able to get past his teammate. He'll be desperate to do so. I was just about to say, touch wood for Pete. Everything seems to have been running smoothly for him so far. He's only got 2 laps to go, getting his first points and his first podium of the season.
Asahina capitalises on Jay, running wide on the exit of 17. Too much wheel spin for Jay as he's just about keeping control of the car as we make our way now towards turn 2. Asahina then up to 4th place. Well, Chris and Pete here battling for the race lead. I bet Pete never predicted that when he got disqualified in qualifying for blocking the pit lane entrance. That's what the official reason by the game was, by the in-game stewards. So not a great thing for Pete, but he's come all the way from the back of the grid, currently running in 2nd place. What a drive from the Williams now. He's got a lap and a half to wrap this up.
Yeah, part of him must just be thinking what might have been, because he was looking so good in that qualifying session. Although he did avoid all that lap 1 carnage. Seems such a long time ago where we see White Fountain get involved with his teammate way back on lap 1, and Westy having to pit as well and retiring in the pit lane. It almost feels like a different race. We've had so much going on.
Absolutely, and we're at the closing stages of it now. Chris coming around the final corner. Good luck to us on picking some drivers of the day. But Chris here at the German Grand Prix starts the final lap of the race then. Chris gets a little bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 1. I don't think it's cost him too much on the run towards turn 2 as Pete there locks up a little bit into turn 2, but look how close he is onto the back of this Ferrari heading through turn 3 and 4. Look at that, just desperately trying to keep that car under control, but look at this, Pete's got a great run here on the run towards turn 6. He may only need one move. Chris going to the right hand side, Pete going to the left as they make their way down towards turn 6 now. Pete locks up onto the curb as he has to go the long way round at turn 6, and Chris parking it on the apex says no way you're getting through. Great defensive driving from Chris there, just trying to put him on the outside as far as he can. Pete might have another go here in towards turn 8, again trying to go round the outside, no dice for him. So Chris is just putting his car in all the right places and he's holding off Pete.
Yeah, he doesn't need to, but he might not know that, of course. And even if he does, he may just want to win it out on track, prove everyone wrong. He's not had the easiest return to one hub, but all he's got to do is make it around these final few corners now.
Here we go then towards the final 2 corners now. Last chance for Pete. I don't think he's going to be able to get the move done on track. He's certainly going to try on the run towards the line. The checkered flag is out then, and it's going to be Chris who wins in Germany by the finest of margins. Well, at least on track anyway. In penalties, Pete then finishes 6 seconds back. Jarrett comes across the line in 3rd. Then that promotes Asahina now up to 3rd place. Asahina onto the podium. Lukey in 5th. As Nick at 6th. Nick G in 7th. And Jay lost it around the final corner. Jay has lost it. Down to 8th place he goes, crosses the line, and what looked a promising start has all turned wrong. And the same really could be said about White Fountain. Qualified in a really good position, and it's all gone horribly wrong for White Fountain. But there we go then, his first race win of the season. Chris in the Ferrari on the top step in Germany.
Yeah, fantastic job from him. Just kept it nice and clean early on, didn't panic, and did a great defensive job, just doing enough to hold off Pete in those final stages. A fantastic job from him. And we mentioned early on that Asahina seemed to be not getting involved in any sort of collisions, and it's worked out well for him, getting his first podium of the season.
Yeah, Asahina seemed to just have a car set up for the wet and waited patiently for that period, and luckily for him it just came just about over halfway through this race. So a great drive from him then, and it falls to us to decide who is the driver of the day that you get to vote on OneHub's Twitter later on in the week then. The official, unofficial results. Chris finishes on top. Pete in 2nd, Asahina in 3rd, Jorrit 4th, Lukey 5th, Nika 6th, Nick G in 7th, Jay in 8th, and White Fountain, the last of the finishers, in 9th place. In that race we lost Victor, Lawrence, Metzer, TK, Thompson, Westy, Toad, Niels, and Scorpion and Jaw. So a lot of DNFs. Jaw obviously being disqualified for ignoring his drive-through. Very harsh from the in-game stewards, because normally you're supposed to have 3 laps after the safety car period. However, they've stood firm on it. Whether they're right or wrong, they've made that decision, and that's that. Luke, it's time to decide who gets in the vote for driver of the day. So who's your candidate?
I think I'm going to go for Pete, just for the fantastic recovery drive from last place, and also getting over the disappointment he must have had in qualifying. We saw it in the chat. He was absolutely gutted just made a mistake and spun, and as he was trying to recover from that spin, crossed across the pit lane. That got him the penalty. Did fantastically well at the start of the race, and a well-deserved second place for him.
See, this is difficult now. I have to choose one driver from a whole list. Anybody could have made that list. I'm talking about 4 drivers who could have made this list for the second one. But I can only choose one. I think I'm only allowed to choose one anyway. Anyway, my driver of the day vote. I've got to make a decision. I'm going with Chris. You know, pole position and then won the race in those tricky conditions. Almost led from start to finish, had that safety car, kept his cool, got past Jay in the end, and managed to get his first race win. It's been a difficult season for him, and that would definitely have put him in the good ranks of a good race, his first race win of the season. So that will do it for tonight's stream. Make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow OneHub on Twitter. It's at OneHub Racing. You can vote for Driver of the Day later on in the week. Make sure you're following Twitter so you are watching that. You can make your vote later on in the week. You can also follow me on Twitter whilst you're there. It's at KSMCGF1, and you can follow Luke whilst you're there as well.
Yes, it's at Luke Etheridge 95.
Go ahead now, go over to the Pinnacle Tier, support your teams and drivers as this Constructors battle gets very, very interesting. What we can say is it's pretty much as it started tonight here in the Precision Tier. Only about 2 points, and that's provisional as well for Red Bull. But thank you very much for watching the Precision Tier. Next week it's Austria. We hope to see you there. I've been Kieran McGinley.
I've been Luke Etheridge.
Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.